glad that you guys could make it back to another episode here with my wonderful bride, Patience, and myself, Aaron. She is much more interesting than I, so listen to what she has to say. So today we're actually coming to you because bum 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 we had a conflict. That was not planned. And so we're gonna just kind of talk about what happened and talk through the things that the Lord did, the things that we learned from it, what went right and what went wrong, so that you guys can benefit from our mishaps. So I'm going to go ahead and hand over the floor to Patience to kind of just share a little bit about what happened today. So we both, I mean, this is a Sunday that we're filming this, so we both went to church this morning, and then what happened next?
Yeah, there's a lot to this story already. Mostly, I think on my part, there was just a lot of things that I could have done better today, but I learned so much from them. So a little bit of context. This morning I didn't take my iron supplements, which may not sound like a big deal, but I get real sleepy without them. So today at church, I was getting real sleepy, and then I was just like shutting down
By the
today.
way, ladies, if you love chewing on ice, I recommend heading to a doctor and finding out if you have an iron deficiency, because that was the case with this one right here. She loved chewing on ice for as long as we knew each other, and then lo and behold, she has an iron deficiency. So now she takes iron supplements, and she's not miserable anymore.
Yeah, it's literally changed my life.
And she's not craving ice. So
that's true.
It's crazy.
Yesterday, Aaron offered me some Chick-fil-A ice, which I used to go nuts for, but I actually turned it down because I just didn't want it. So that was wild.
By the way, if you hear our doggos barking in the background, they are jealous that we're having a conversation without them.
Yeah, so this morning I forgot to take my iron supplements. And that just affected my day a lot. I was really sleepy. I was really tired today, and all I wanted to do today was to go home after church and take a fat nap. But I was feeling a lot of shame. I was feeling a lot of shame about what I felt I was obligated to do, what I felt that I needed to do. I was feeling like my emotions and what I was physically feeling was wrong and not serving me. So I actually did not communicate with Aaron that after church I really wanted to go home and take a nap. Not only did I want to take a nap, I kind of needed to take a nap, especially since I had not had my iron supplements. So all day today, Aaron and I had been talking about what do you want to do and when are we going to do the podcast. And all day I've been pushing things off and just saying whatever you want to do, and like just feeling a lot of weight of shame and feeling guilty for being tired, feeling like I had an obligation to stay awake the whole day and be with Aaron the whole day, which is not bad. Being with my spouse is not bad. But if I had taken a nap in the first place, we would have avoided a whole conflict about when are we going to film the podcast? What are we going to do today? So I was feeling so much shame, and I was not being open and honest and communicating with Aaron. And that led to a lot of feelings on your part, I think.
Yeah, I mean, on my end, it was difficult to, because like I can sense that there's something going on.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, as I'm sure with most of the fellas watching or listening to this, I've not yet been blessed with the gift of mind reading. So I knew that there was something up. I knew that she wasn't feeling well, and I wanted to like help, but like I would make recommendations, be like, well, let's go home. And she'd be like, no, let's not go home. I was like, okay, well, I want to do this. Well, what do you think? That's fine. Right. And I've been married, I mean, only 2 short years, but long enough to know that it's fine.
Does not mean it's fine.
It most certainly does not. And so there was a lot going on and I kind of struggled to like get that truth out.
Yeah.
And so, we went off and, we got lunch, and, I needed to swing by Best Buy, and, we came home, and at that
point, I was just being really crabby the whole day. I was complaining a lot. I was just like not present. I was being really grumpy, and it really wasn't fair to Aaron throughout the whole day. And then again, the narrative in my head was, you taking a nap doesn't serve your husband, and you taking a nap takes away time from your husband, And you taking a nap just means you're weak and you should do other things. And I think for me, should is a big word that comes into play in my life a lot. So there are so many instances where I'm doing something and I feel, but you should do this. Or like we'll have a conflict. And literally in our conflict, I'll be like, I did this, but I should have done this. And I think it's a way of like invalidating what I'm feeling. It's invalidating what I'm thinking. And it's just going to the Bible answer, the like
The Sunday school
the Sunday
answer.
school answer. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. Yes, the Sunday school answer. Well, I should have done this, or I should do this, and I should not have done that. But that doesn't solve anything. That just placates, and that just hides your emotions and shoves them down, and pushes them down. And that's something that I really struggled with in our marriage, especially in the first year, where I didn't know how to communicate my feelings and my emotions, and I didn't. I simply didn't. That was literally it. And because of that, we had such a lack of communication that we just weren't connecting. We weren't having open and honest conversations. And that also took away the opportunity for my husband to provide for me and to care for me and to relate to me. And with the feedback I could have given him, he could have served me in a different way. Do you want to
Yeah.
speak to that a little
So,
bit?
and so one of the things as well is the husband's role in a marriage. I was about to say in a Christian marriage, but there's really only one valid marriage, which is the
The
Christian
Christian
marriage.
marriage.
But the controversy time, but the husband's role in a marriage is to lay down his life for his bride, right? And to not give your husband the opportunity to lay down his life, to lay down his desires in sacrifice for his wife, is removing from him the ability to actually perform his God-given role, to fulfill what he was made to do, who he was made to be.
Yeah.
And it creates this weird tension in the relationship that doesn't need to be there. And so, Patience, we get home. Patience is like, hey, I want to take a nap in the truck. I was like, no worries. I go inside, take care of the dog. She comes back in. And we're like, all right, so she's feeling a little bit better. She had a short little nap. Let's go ahead and talk through what happened, right? And there was this, at the Weekend Remember conference that we went to this past weekend from Family Life. Again, this is not sponsored by Family Life. It's Family Life. If you'd like to sponsor us, hit me up. But this is not sponsored by them, but we just came back from Weekend to Remember this past weekend. It was amazing. And one of the things that two of the speakers there, CD and Melody, again, shout out to CD and Melody Fabian. They're amazing. They also have a podcast out called Hangin' with the Fabians. Check that out on Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts. Man, that sounded like such a podcast
It did.
advertisement. But again, this is not sponsored by them. They're just amazing, very wise people. And so one of the things that they mentioned is that the enemy will whisper in our ear and he'll try to break up the house, break up the marriage.
Because that is the ultimate way to lead Christians away from glorifying God. Like marriage is such a pinnacle of glorifying God. So if you and your spouse are divided, then you're not going to be glorifying God. You're going to be focused on yourself. You're going to be focused on serving yourself. So Satan often attacks marriages. And that's another reason why divorce is like so terrible for so many reasons, but like it doesn't bring glory to God. So continue your
100%.
thought.
And so one of the things that they mentioned is that Satan will whisper lies into our ears.
Yeah.
And he'll speak in the first person. He'll say,
Yeah.
I shouldn't do that. I should do that. Or I really want that.
Yeah.
Right? Or that wouldn't actually, that's not fair to me. Or
Yeah.
whatever other lie the enemy speaks. It's
Yeah.
in the first person.
Yeah.
So it sounds like us. And what happened earlier today was like, it was very evidently coming from a lie from the enemy, but I didn't know what it was. And so the Lord just brought back to my spirit that lesson that we learned this past weekend. And he just led me to ask, what is the lie that the enemy is speaking? More specifically, I asked, Patience was kind of sharing with me, and it's like, I feel a lot of, should this, should that. And it sounded like shame.
Yeah.
And I think the easiest way to identify if it is shame is with the word should. Shame and should. There you go. Easy way to identify if you're operating from a place of shame is if you're using words like should or shouldn't.
Yeah.
And so I'm hearing this and I'm like, okay, this sounds like shame. And I know that this is something that we've been working through in our relationship. So I'm like, okay, is shame of God? And she was like, no. I was like, okay, like who is saying this to you? Like everything that you're telling me right now, this isn't coming from you. This is coming from a source. Is it coming from God or is it coming from the enemy? Who is saying this?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, this isn't coming from God, so it's got to be coming from the enemy. And like the light bulb went off in that moment for you. She was like, oh my word. Like this came from. What were you thinking in that moment when that kind of clicked?
It brought so much clarity, and also, I don't know how to explain this, but a little bit of relief, just knowing that like the battle that was going on within me was definitely influenced by external forces. Like obviously I have to take accountability for my actions, my thoughts, my feelings, for not communicating with you what I wanted or what I didn't want. But it's almost relieving to be like, that was the voice of the enemy at work, and I don't have to bow down to that. I don't have to submit to that. So yeah, it was just so cool. And again, like all of those thoughts and feelings that I was having, I was saying, I shouldn't take a nap. I should spend time with my husband. I should serve and love him. And I should not separate myself from him. And it would be wrong of me to take a rest, to take a break. And like all of those things, like you were saying, are not coming from a place of love, because God is love. So I think if it were coming from a place of love, it wouldn't be, I should spend time with my husband. It would be, I want to spend time with my husband. I want to be with my husband. I want to make time for my husband. But that doesn't mean I can't take a nap. It doesn't mean that I can't take 20 minutes to take a quick cat nap and then get back to my husband so I can be my best self with him.
It also doesn't mean that you're not allowed to communicate that with your husband and to be like, hey, like I'm feeling tired. I want to be able to spend time with you, but I also really don't feel present because like I'm like not well, right? Like I need to get some sleep.
Yeah.
And so then from that place, husbands, sacrifice, lay your life down for your bride, just as Christ did for the church. Lay down your life, sacrifice your desires, your wants, so that you can serve your wife. So if she comes to you, she says, hey, I need a nap, then it's in the husband's territory where he can be like, yeah, let me create space for you. Let me take care of the chores. Let me take care of the dogs, right? Or the kids, if you've got kids. Let me make it so that you don't only, you're not only taking a nap, but you have the best nap of your life, right? And so to create that space, it requires that honest communication, and should has no place in it.
Right. Yeah.
It is just talking about what's up.
Yeah.
Just being open about that.
And I also, like, talking through this now, I'm thinking about how much I felt like my identity was being attacked as well. Like, I would not have been a good wife if I took a nap and didn't spend time with you.
Ooh.
And, like, that's not true. And another thing is, like, earlier we were talking about this, and I know you're mentioning, like, laying down your life for your wife, and if she says that I would really like to take a nap or I need to take a nap, something you were mentioning is, yes, like, sacrifice for your wife, but also, like, collaborate with your wife about what that looks like, So if a nap is just not possible in the moment, which it was today, I could have taken a nap. We had the freedom and flexibility to do it. But I think in other situations, like, opening up that conversation, being authentic and honest with each other. And if you can't lay down your life or you can't sacrifice in a certain way because of external situations, collaborating with your partner in order to find the best outcome and working together rather than just not saying anything or assuming things or giving yourself the should talk, Yeah.
Yeah. And so we sat down, we had this conversation. We were like, okay, where is this coming from? Okay, it's coming from the enemy. okay, so are these lies or is this truth?
Mm.
Okay, these are lies. So now we're calling out the enemy. Again, shout out to CD and Melody for even teaching this.
Yeah,
We're,
so good.
we're calling out the enemy's lies.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, like these are lies coming from the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sat down, we talked through this, and we were like, patients shared, like, okay, like this is what I was feeling today. This is what I'm feeling now.
Mm-hmm.
This is all the shame, but the shame isn't from me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like this has nothing to do with your identity. There was no should or should
Yeah,
not.
absolutely.
It's just simply the actions. Your identity is locked,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
As being a daughter
Mm-hmm.
of God. And so, and a really freaking awesome dog mom too. And so the thing that we pulled out of this is like, okay, well, what's next? And for me, it was tough because this whole day, like I felt like we were disconnected from each other. I
Yeah.
felt like there was this weird like undercurrent,
Yeah.
and it was rough. And there were a lot of hours of our day that were kind of stained from that.
And wasted, honestly.
And so for me, like I communicated, it was a very vulnerable place for me. I was like, I forgive you, but I also, in order for me to feel like I can properly move on from this, I feel like I need some sort of sign that you want to move on from this as well.
Yeah.
I feel like I need an apology.
Yeah.
You don't have to give it. You are not obligated to give it,
Yeah.
and you're forgiven no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But it would help me heal from this little thing,
Yeah.
right? And patience was very gracious and understanding of that, because for me, Gary Chapman wrote not only the 5 love languages, but also the 5 apology languages, which
Yes.
we've only just heard of.
Yes.
And I'm still not too familiar with it. And when we learn more about it, we can, make
Talk more
episodes about that.
it, yeah.
But for me, like it's really hard for me to feel like it's something that we're both kind of on the same page. And it's like, okay, we didn't want to do that. We're gonna make restitution. We're gonna move on in a better direction. It's hard for me to do that unless it's actually communicated. And so that's something I've struggled with, is like, okay, but I don't feel like I should want an apology.
Yeah.
It's my own thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't ask. And so it created a lot of issues earlier in our relationship.
Yeah.
Because patients would feel like, well, I shouldn't apologize because I might do it again. And I was like, well, I shouldn't ask for an apology.
That's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
And so it's just this weird situation. And patients also, like, we communicated through this in the past, but like, she doesn't have those same like apology languages as I do. Like, she doesn't view it the same way as I do. It doesn't mean the same thing to her.
Yeah.
And like, as we've progressed in our marriage and in our relationship, we learn like, okay, what do we actually need,
Yeah.
right, in conflict to move on from it? And I am someone where it really helps to have, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
and it doesn't need to be anything fancy. It's just, I'm sorry, and genuine and heartfelt. And so I've been working on myself on kind of coming out of that own place of shame and just like asking it anyway and be like, hey, this is something that I feel like I need. You can give it if you want, but you don't have to. And she was so gracious, and she came, she said, hey, I'm sorry. She owned like, these are the things that I did. These were the things that I want to do in the future. If this ever happens again, I want to make this right. And I was like, I forgive you. Like, we're good. Cool. We made it up. And we're rocking and rolling. And so it was a really beautiful, unified way to end that conflict with one another.
Which is incredible, because a year ago, I think this would have lasted days. Like, this whole conflict over me wanting a nap. Like, conflict does not have to be that complicated. And we're still learning this, and we're not experts on this. But just thinking about like how a year ago, I would have never said any of this stuff to you. And then if you had asked for an apology, I would have gotten defensive. And like, just the fact that we've come so far, that we had these open and honest conversations today, and that he was able to ask for an apology and I was able to give it, was incredible. Just seeing that growth. And obviously we'll talk more about our past, and we'll open up more conversations about that. But even though this conflict lasted a few hours, it's just incredible to see how far we've come.
Yeah, and I think like the biggest thing that we've learned in our relationship is simply how to communicate what we're thinking
Yeah.
and what we're feeling to each other
Yeah.
very plainly.
Yeah.
And everyone talks about like, okay, like communication is the biggest thing. We didn't really believe that for a while. But
It really is.
it really is. It really
But
is.
you have to do it right. It's not just like saying your thoughts and feel. I mean, it is, but like
Doing it in a healthy manner.
yeah, in a healthy manner.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there are most certainly times where I'm sure Patience wants to clearly communicate to me, Aaron, you're annoying the crap out of me right now. And she does half the time. But the other half of the time, it probably is wiser, depending on the mood that I'm in, to communicate that in a different manner. So, because I am really good at pushing buttons. So the crux of all of this is identifying. And so like if you're going through a conflict, if you're going through a situation, you're like, okay, like I feel stuck. I don't know how to get past this. But both of you want to. And that's a very important part that we'll talk about in another episode. But assuming that both of you want to get past it, when you get to this place, taking turns, sharing what is going on your side, right? What are you experiencing? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Right? What does your experience look like? What does your reality look like? And then the other party doing that for them. And then identifying as you go through that, is this from the Lord or is this from the enemy?
Yeah.
And a lot of times the enemy is whispering lies in our ear to divide the marital union. And you can very quickly, when you ask that question, are any of these lies from the enemy? You can find out, well, that's not my thought. That's a thought that's being put in by the enemy. And I don't need to identify with that anymore.
Yeah.
And you can break free from that. And then once you do, you can come together and be like, hey, I don't want the enemy to have a role in this relationship. This is between you, me, and the Lord. Yeah. The enemy has no place here, and drive him out. And then in doing so, you two make up. And your apologies to one another are at the core apologies for inviting the enemy into the marital union and listening to the enemy and letting him, right, have a say in your sanctity and your safe marriage. That's supposed to be a 3-chord strand with you two and the Lord. The enemy doesn't have any place in that. And so the apology at the crux, at the center of it, is really just about, bringing the enemy in, right? And apologizing for that. And then offering forgiveness to one another and saying, okay, cool. Like, what can we do in the future to prevent this from coming up again? And that's the last point here, is as we finished up this conversation, we asked, where did this start?
Yeah.
What was the first lie that the enemy whispered into your ear that sent this whole domino train going down? And so you want to share a little bit about what that was?
This morning in church is where it started, and at our church we stand for most of the service. So I had decided to sit for a portion because I felt so tired sitting. Oh no. But I felt so tired and I decided to sit down, and I just felt awful about it, which is, again, me feeling awful about sitting down during church takes me away from church. It takes me away from worshiping God. So if I had just sat down and continued to pray and to focus on the Lord,
what were the lies that the enemy told you?
You should be standing. Let me think about this. You should be standing. This is lazy. You're not honoring God. This is disrespectful. Yeah.
This is like sending shivers down my spine just hearing this.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. And it started there, and then throughout the day when I was like, I'm so tired, I really want a nap. No, you have to be with your husband. You should be with your husband. You should not take a nap. And I think another huge part of this that I just thought about while you were speaking was, not only are they shoulds, and not only are they coming from places of self-hatred and not out of a place of love, they also sound like truth. I think that's a huge thing, is that the enemy deceives, and he twists.
The
And
angel of light.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like in my mind, I'm like, yes, I should spend time with my husband. And that sounds so much like the truth because it is. Spending time with my husband is a good thing. Connecting with my husband is a good thing. But when I put it in a way where I'm sacrificing a genuine need and not dialoguing with my husband about it because I feel shame that I'm tired, it just caused so much conflict. And it was so much like the truth of spending time with my husband, how good that is.
Yeah. And I think that's the key here is being able to identify, okay, like one, right? I think this is a really good point that the enemy's voice often sounds almost right.
Mm-hmm.
Almost right. It's
Yeah.
a counterfeit.
Mm-hmm.
But another key thing to consider is like when you identify where this starts,
Yeah.
the first lie
Mm-hmm.
that's spoken,
Yeah.
then next time it happens, next time the enemy comes back and tries to play the same trick,
Mm-hmm.
you can identify it and you can redirect.
Yeah.
You have now protection against the lies of the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only are we just sitting here talking about it and we're going to make it right, we don't want this to happen again.
Yeah.
Right? So next time, right? Like you're in church and you're noticing thoughts coming in
Mm-hmm.
that are saying should
Mm-hmm.
or shouldn't.
Yeah.
Then we know that if we engage with that and we play with that, it's only going to send us down a downward spiral.
Yeah.
But if we cut it off right there
Mm-hmm.
and we proclaim truth,
Yeah.
right, which is what the Lord did
Yeah.
when he was being tempted by the enemy, right, and preaching scripture,
Yeah.
right, and saying this is truth.
Mm-hmm.
If we come back with truth and say, no, I want to honor my husband by communicating,
Mm-hmm.
or I want to honor my wife by sacrificing,
Yeah.
right? Whatever it is in both parties. This isn't just about, you. This is also about the husband. The husband has these just as many times, if not more in some cases,
Yeah.
where the enemy is coming in and whispering lies that drive division. So identifying those common clues, because the enemy plays very similar games most of the time, can help prevent that stuff from coming up in the future. So that's another really big key point. Anything you want to add to that?
I think one last thing is the guy at our church says it all the time. The enemy is a one-trick pony. So like once you start identifying this stuff and once you understand that these things are patterns and they repeat themselves, it's really easy. It can be. I'm not even going to say should. I was about to say it should be. It can be easy to identify the lies of the enemy and then throw them out the window and go to my husband or go to the Lord and be like, can you help me? So just realizing that the enemy is a one-trick pony, that he's really not that smart. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you notice these lies come in, be on guard for the devil prowling around looking for someone to devour.
He's ready.
Right. And so be on guard against him. So when you notice these lies coming in and you notice voice in your head that sounds like you, sounds like it's almost true, and it's using language like should or shouldn't, catch it right there. Go to your spouse. Communicate what you're feeling, what you're thinking. Ask for help from them to snuff out the lies of the enemy. Speak truth back into the marital union. So it's you, your spouse, and God. Make restitution, apologize, and repent. Turn around.
Yeah.
Right? And be like, all right, let's move forward. Identify where it starts. What was the first lie? So that you can prepare for next time. How can I defend myself against it? What's a scripture that I can go back to? That I can preach over myself when the enemy comes back. And you do these things, then the number of conflict that you guys will have will shorten or lessen. It won't go away. It will lessen. But more importantly, you'll be able to communicate through it. And when you can communicate through conflict, they don't last multiple days. It doesn't divide marriages. It doesn't lead to divorce. But it actually enriches your marriage. It strengthens your union with one another. So again, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for listening to this. I hope this is helpful. If you guys have anything that you would like to discuss, then hit me up on Facebook or something and drop some comments or thoughts in the DMs. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.